Well, Coach, what were your initial thoughts whenever you guys popped up on the screen?
I kind of had a hunch that we would go there just based on the seedings, and I like it. I think it fits us for several reasons. I think specifically our seniors will feel comfortable there. Charlie's from around that area. Callum's, playing similar grasses over the years that he's a little more used to than maybe some of the other sites. So I'm really excited about going up there. I don't think a lot of teams have seen that golf course, which helps. So other than Illinois, everybody's going to be on the same playing field there. So looking forward to it.
How would you describe that course?
Yeah, I don't know much. I looked online, but it looks real similar maybe to the Rawls, and it feels a little linksy, but it's more like a Midwest linksy where it's got different grasses than we have. It's going to have bent grass, wall to wall, but it's not a tree-lined parkland course. It's going to feel more, like a links style feel to it with bent grass.
And how do you feel coming off finishing, I guess, top 3 in the Big 12?
Yeah, finishing third at Big 12 was a boost. Especially the way that we did it. We played pretty poorly early and played good at the end. I think we had the lowest round the last round, and I think that was the lowest round of the whole tournament. So we know what we're capable of. We just hadn't quite put it all together this year. We played a lot of tournaments where we played 2 good rounds. Some tournaments we'd only play 1 good round, and so I think we're due to put three together, and we've been practicing hard with this tournament in mind, and I think the guys are prepared.
How? I guess Connor was named to the Arnold Palmer Cup yesterday or whatever. What has impressed him? I mean, you've had great golfers here. A lot of them have been on Arnold Palmer Cup teams. What has he done this season that's impressed you?
Well, he's super talented. Probably one of the most, if not the most talented ball strikers I've ever been around in 25 years. And so, he's a special kid. To be able to make the Arnold Palmer Cup team as a freshman is just something that we have never seen around here. And he's a relentless competitor. There's a lot of fire in there, and we have to kind of calm that down at times. But you'd rather have that burning desire and go from there down than trying to get a guy competitive. So he's brought a lot of competitiveness to this team, and even as a young kid, he hates to lose and hates to not play to his standards. So I'm excited for him. I'm not surprised, and the way he was playing, I think he almost got there without even having to be a captain's pick. But it was a no-brainer for them to pick him. He's already played in the Walker Cup, the youngest kid to ever play in a Walker Cup at 16 for the GB&I squad, and he's going to make another one, this year in September. I think he's a slam dunk to make that team at in Monterey, where they're going to play that at Cypress Point. So, Connor's been, even though he's a freshman and even though he's learning some lessons that he's had to grow up fast to help this team, he's on track to be, an All-American for sure soon.
Seeing that, you've got him playing so well as a freshman. Obviously, you've got Charlie and Callum as your senior leaders. But how much different is this squad than last year's?
Yeah, it's different in some ways. We lost a lot of experience with Board. Board, been in this program for 4 years, and he won the regional at LSU. And so, when you've played a lot of regionals and he's played a Final 8, you're losing a lot of experience. But at the same time, Charlie was there at the national championship, and he adds an element of he just feels like an extension of the coaches. We call him our third coach. That's what I said. I said, "You look good today. You look better than their regular ball coach." But Charlie's been around the block. He was a Division II Player of the Year, and I don't think necessarily in golf, in particular, that experience matters. It's the golf course, the ball, your brain, and you try to beat people with your brain. And these guys are peaking at the right time, and I've got a good feeling about what I'm seeing.
What was Connor's kind of recruitment process like? How'd you meet him, and what was your first impressions of him?
Well, yeah, we were lucky to have Callum on the team, a fellow Scotsman, and that helped a lot. And so it was really unique because Connor's playing a lot of golf. He played a lot of golf the summer that we were recruiting him, And I think he was scheduled to take 2 or 3 visits. We were one of them. And then I get a phone call. We'd actually lost another big-time recruit, and I get a phone call, and he goes, I think we're ready to commit. And I go, perfect. He goes, his schedule isn't really allowing him to travel. We're comfortable because of what Callum says. We're comfortable with what we've heard from you, and so we're going to commit. So the rest was history. He's pretty simple-minded and knew what he wanted and was confident in what he was getting through Callum. So thanks to Callum, we got another Scotsman that can really play.
When you saw him hit a golf shot for the first time, what was kind of your first impressions of that?
Well, I'd gone over and watched him play over in Europe, and my first impressions were, wow, I'm going to have to settle this kid down because he's a fireball, just to be honest. But he knows that. That's the one thing that, I can sit here and pick on. There's a lot of great things. But, yeah, that was the thing that jumped off the pages. Man, he's pretty critical of himself. But the talent was, unbelievable. And I've told him, I said, you can hit the golf ball better than Ludwig. You just got to figure out how to control your emotions like him, which is a big task because that guy's, the best I've ever seen at being in the present, taking it one shot at a time, not allowing one shot to affect the next shot. So, those are the spaces we're trying to get him better in. But as far as striking the golf ball, he's in a league of one that I've seen around here.
You played Oklahoma State again. Kind of when you saw them at Big 12 Southern Hills, what was your first impressions of that team?
Yeah, we saw them a lot this year. Unfortunately, we hadn't beat them, but we've been a lot closer than we were at the Big 12. Over, I think at Hawaii it was kind of close, and a couple other places. And they're good 1 through 5, and we'll have to play awfully well to beat them. Our best chance probably is at this point is to get to nationals, get to the 8, and play them in match play. We had a really good match against them in the Big 12 match play in October. It went down to the final hole. Connor was playing their number 1 guy, and I think Connor made 8 birdies, another kid made 9. So it was an unbelievable match. So we know how close we were to beating them in match play, but I think in stroke play, I'm not saying we can't beat them, but we'll have to play a good 1 through 5 to beat those guys.
Preston Stout obviously won the Big 12. I know he was teammates with Ben Gregg at J.J. Pearson Richardson.
Yeah.
When you saw him, what's so good about him, about Preston?
Yeah, Preston has some ties to Texas Tech, so he kind of broke our hearts that he really wasn't interested in this place. But, I understand each kid's different. But, they had a great high school team. Ethan Fang was on that team as well, who's probably playing just as good as Preston for Oklahoma State. He transferred from Cal. So that team probably could have been a college team with those 3 players on there, a really good college team. But yeah, those guys are good, and Ben knows where he's at, and he's showed flashes this year that he can play with anybody in the country, but he hasn't quite gotten it done consistently enough.
What's the latest Ludwig update? How have you felt about what you've seen from him or heard from him?
Yeah, I saw him. He came in town before he left, late March, before he left for the San Antonio PGA, and he's the same guy that he was. He's trying to find ways to get a little bit better, and I know he didn't play good in San Antonio, but obviously we all saw what he did at the Masters to get in contention, and he's putting himself in a place where he doesn't have to travel as much. He can kind of pick and choose where he wants to play, and I know he'll when he plays, he'll be ready to go. But yeah, not much has changed with him. Still the same guy, still humble, and still he helped Callum with a couple things on the range before we left that I think has really helped Callum's game. So to have a guy, I texted him after that, you have no idea how much it means that you'd spend a little bit of time with Callum, who's been struggling a little bit, and helping him maybe find some things to get out of the funk. So that could be the difference between us making the 8 and not, him still being involved in the program like that.
That was when, did you say? When he helped?
Late March, last weekend in March. Not sure exactly what those days are.
You mentioned Connor's emotion. How have you kind of helped him rein it in?
Man, I've tried everything. He knows that it's like trying to break a habit, that you've had ingrained. I think the Scottish, Golf Federation must put on a class on how to beat yourself out there. But I joke about that, but he's really taking that seriously. We're just looking for baby steps. It's more about his competitiveness. Brings him to want to try maybe too hard in this game, and there is this notion that you got to let things happen in this game and not try to force it. Like other sports, you might be able just to try harder, and that helps. And he's a work in progress, but he knows that he's responsible enough to try to keep working on it. But it's he's a fast twitch guy. He hits the golf ball really far for, he's tiny, but he smokes it. And so every time he plays with, a competitor, they're like, who's this kid? He just jumps off the page and knocks it by you and then pretty much sprints to his golf ball, and I can't keep up to him. But he's fun to be with. He's a competitor, and I he's wired kind of the same way I am. So I think I can help him, along the way get that a little more under control.
You breaking clubs?
Well, he knows no better not to do that, and I do too. But there's still this idea of hanging on to the past that I was pretty good at, and that he's pretty good at now. He's an expert at it. So trying to figure out how to move on from an event that doesn't matter in the next event, which is the next shot. And I think that's what separates great baseball players, great tennis players, great golfers in particular, is can you hit the next shot? Can you go to the next point and not worry about what's happened or not let your emotions get in the way? And so, we spend a lot of time in that in golf, but he's really working on that himself.
How far does he drive? Average.
Well, I don't think we're going to drive.
How long's his drive?
Oh, he's a 180 ball speed guy, so he probably can fly it if he wants to, 310, 315, but he hits it pretty low. It's more of a flat shot, so if he's on a golf course that's hard and fast, then he could hit it by Ludwig. If he's on a course that's soft, then Ludwig's going to fly 20 by him because Ludwig hits it high. But pound for pound, I don't know anybody. I don't know. I mean, you can't keep 28 waist. I mean, he's just falling off of him. We got to double cinch the belt, and I mean, he's got his shirt tail flying around. Every pocket on his bag's open up. I mean, it's quite the chore. So.
It's almost like he's a kid.
Yeah, exactly. He's 7. He just came here when he was 17, so he's young. So.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach.